Welcome everyone to Gamer Meld. Today I've got big stories, like an incredible leaked benchmark for AMD's Ryzen 9 3950X. X570 boards are even more expensive than we thought, unfortunately, and there's a ton of confirmation on Nvidia's upcoming Super GPUs. But first, today's the last day to get 10% off your order at store.gamermeld.com, where you can pick up one of these 14nm plus infinity mugs, so make sure to check that out with the code WEMADEIT100K down in the description below. Okay, it's news time, and starting things off, Tom Apisak found a benchmark on AMD's 16-core Ryzen 9 3950X, and it's apparently gone Super Saiyan. The benchmark comes from Geekbench, and we pretty well know it's the 3950X because it was run on an X470 motherboard, and that's the only 16-core chip that works on the AM4 socket. Maybe they'll announce other 16-core processors, but really it doesn't even matter because we know the boost clock for the 3950X is 4.7 GHz, yet this was only running at 4.3. Now, I've actually got to warn you and say that it's almost too good to be true. And unfortunately, it is on Geekbench, so it's not my favorite benchmarking suite, but this is almost unreal. With a base clock of 3.3 GHz and a max boost of 4.3 GHz, which I'm assuming this is an engineering sample, the CPU got a single core score of 5868 and an unbelievable multi-core score of 61,072. To put this into perspective, Intel's most recent 18-core CPU, the i9-9980XE, typically gets a single-core score of around 5400 and a multi-core score of 46,000. That means the 16-core Ryzen CPU at 4.3 GHz is over 30% faster in multi-core workloads. Now, obviously the 9980XE can overclock a good bit, but this was just at 4.3 GHz max. And don't forget that the i9-9980XE is $2,000.
Help me, I'm poor.
Oh, and it doesn't stop there. The i9-9900K at a boost of 5 GHz gets around a single core score of 6200, and there's no real point in comparing the multi-core score, but if this score is right, the 3950X could get around 6700 with a 4.7 GHz boost. Basically, at a fraction of the cost of the competition, AMD now dominates on every front, single core score as well as multi-core score. Now, I've seen some comments that say that, oh, you're just comparing an old CPU to a new one, but remember that there's little chance Intel is going 10 nanometers on mainstream or enthusiast chips anytime soon, so there's really only so much they can do. Of course, this is just one benchmark, but talk about exciting. Next up for today, I have a bit of a follow-up to the story I discussed on some statements that were made by the CEO of MSI. It was regarding the cost of X570 motherboards, and the pricing could be worse than we thought, or better depending on your expectations. The story comes from Tech PowerUp, who received a price list on ASUS's upcoming X570 lineup. It comes from a quote, reliable source based in Taiwan. And if this is true, ASUS's cheapest board, the Prime X570P, is going to cost you a hefty $160, but it gets a lot worse. The follow-up to the Prime X470 Pro, a $150 board, is going to come in at $250. And looking at their high-end, the ROG Crosshair 8 formula is going to cost an eye-watering $700. With that said, AMD shared quite a few details on their upcoming boards, and they really have a ton of new features, which I'll actually be discussing soon when I go into an in-depth look at the Ryzen platform. I'm not sure yet if it's something I'm going to be sharing here or if it's just for patrons, mostly because it's a fairly different format from what I usually do. Lastly for today, Video Cards was able to get quite a bit of new information, or should I say confirm most of the information on Nvidia's upcoming Super GPUs. First, it looks like they really could be announced next week, with one of Video Card sources claiming it to be a possibility, but the big thing is that the actual release date won't happen until mid-July, as apparently the company has only just begun discussing the cards with their board partners. And honestly, that tells me that Nvidia likely released the announcement trailer to offset any announcement from AMD, but apparently it worked because things are really getting exciting, especially with the fact that Video Cards has now confirmed nearly everything I discussed in yesterday's video, including the specs. Well, at least the specs that Igor's lab discussed, since they aren't mentioning the 2080 Ti Super or the 2070 Ti Super. Then again, those cards are supposedly coming a bit after the others, so it's still certainly a possibility, especially with WCCF Tech's source mostly being right about everything else. So while that does it for today, what did you think of the news? Excited for that 16-core behemoth, or are you ready for better RTX cards? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you liked the video, please subscribe. And as always, have a great day.